Welcome back to the Cart Ecom web app. We're going to be working on the shop page. Here is kind of the end result of this lesson. It's just basically going to put together a kind of an example of what our random items look like. And we're grabbing them from our original one that I did a long time ago, a few years back. Here's the old inventory. As you can see here, it basically has an inventory similar to ours, not exactly the same, but it's pretty close. And it also has the analytics on the same page, so it's like I said, it's a little different. But this luckily means that we can grab a lot of the same code, especially from the front end, because it's made with React as well. The back end is Mongo DB, so I will not be grabbing much of the back end, but as you can see, the front end is pretty standard, and it will be very helpful for us when we're putting together our project here, because it is our project for the most part. It's pretty close. As you can see here, I've got a little filter, which our project has. This is what our project's going to look like. This is the shopping page for each item. We've got a review set up, and I think I'll probably be putting in like an inventory log as well for us, which this one does not have. So ours will have a little bit more. And as you can see here, this is what our units are going to be looking like. We have a background image. It takes forever to get this the way you want it. So luckily, we're going to be cutting through some time here, and you won't see me jerking around trying to get things looking nice because I'll already have it prepared. It has a lot of CSS. Here's the specific part that I'm talking about with the background cover. All the images are going to be different size, so we got to make sure that they do work coincidentally for the shopping page. So that's kind of how we're going to run it. Let's show over kind of what we've got. And as you can see here, it's just our cart. I've got I put in some new content, so we've got new stuff, new products, and obviously our transaction log. This is the inventory we worked on last time, and here are all our new items. I've filled in product images and search terms, and this way, that was just busy work, so I went ahead and put some stuff in here. As you can see, everything's working good. I'm going to put in a max length to make sure that they don't go over what the servers have allocated. So these all need to kind of match up with what our server says that they can allow, the amount of characters. Yeah, that's going to be important. These all need to kind of match up. And what's going to be going on here is we're going through the purchase log has to actually match up too. So, because we're putting in titles here, this is all good for the product list, but when we're buying things, this is actually going to be for the purchase table. So, bear with me while I get all this coordinated in with what we can allow with our purchase. And as you notice here with our original cart, on the cart page, I am moving on success of our post purchase. It doesn't look like I had the actual what I wanted to do upon success. I had it actually after the Axios post, which is strange to me, because what I want to do is come in here on once I get some results, I want to ask, what do the results say? Are there any affected rows that changed? On this post, did that work? And if the post affected rows is 0, then it means that we got to it, but it didn't work. So basically I needed to put an if else here. So if affected rows doesn't equal 0, then I can go ahead and put it all our success, as opposed to after the Axios responses, we need to put them in the correct spot. So bear with me while I fix what looks to me like a mistake on our last with our tutorial. It looks like the set cart list and the show alert and the set toggle, all of those are kind of resets, but they need to be, and also with the temp cart needs to be, those all need to be put back into the correct spot within the Axios post. Okay. Now we can see this is all working, but my post isn't working when I submit the cart. There it goes. Now we figured out that it works. We have an affected row of 1. So all the back end matches what it needs to. What was going on was I was only allowing so many characters for the title on the purchase log posts. For the name had to have enough characters. So always remember that. These are long titles too for each item. Okay, so what we're going to do is like a random display for the shopping page. And first off, I'm just going to kind of like throw it in here to Bootstrap and kind of show you, this is their examples, which are really good as to what I want things to look like. And so as you can see, you can go in here and kind of take what you want from the examples and you tailor them to fit. It's a good place to start because they've put a lot of time and effort into making these look professional, and they have a lot of thought involved in placement and sizing, and it's all balanced out. So as long as you understand what you want things to look like, let's go ahead and start with something like that. It's got you don't have to stick with it, but we got to start somewhere. So what I'm going to do, just above what I already have on this cart page, is I'm just going to make another row for now, and just kind of stick it in here and see what it looks like. Pretty simple. We're gonna have to wrap the whole thing with the React fragment so that it'll render correctly. But that's of minor details right now. And we'll just do a quick paste. And we got to switch all those from class to class name because of React. But it'll get us started. It saves a lot of time. I mean, look at this. They put in how much width and shadow. I mean, there's a lot of CSS work that we just cut through and we didn't have to do. I mean, it takes a very long time to get that right. So let's refresh it and see what that renders. Okay, well, let's log back in. And as you can see, there is the static HTML I just posted in. It doesn't do anything. It's just an example of what Bootstrap has. But this is going to be a step forward in what we're kind of aiming for. I'm going to start digging apart into the HTML and kind of take a closer look. Yeah, so there's just, as you can see, the container needs to have some space above it, so making room for the nav. So there's a little bit of work needs to be done here on the container. Not a big deal. I typically do this anyway. And you can change this if it's not enough, or if in mobile, if 80 pixels is too much, you can change it for mobile. But we got to give it a little bit of space there so that the nav doesn't overlap on top of the products. There, as you can see now, we've got a lot more space. Almost a little too much, but there's a lot of other work. As you can see, we've got some muted out. The fonts are a little muted out, and things are just kind of off, but closer. So I think it's probably better off if we just go back and grab what I need from the original file, and we'll just move on from here. So, I mean, we're going to have to, we've written it twice statically. That's great, but we really only need to write it once, and we need to put an image in there. And it literally, since I said it only needs to be written out once, and then we just map it through with the amount of items we want to show. So let's start thinking about how we're going to do that in a broad scheme. We're going to have to get an image that each image has. I say we just grab the first image from the list. So that would just be like whatever images it has, you just do image, and it says it's an array, so you'd be like 0, image, index of 0. We're going to have, the details of this thing is going to be listed. We're going to have a continue reading, which actually gets it to the shop page. There's a tons of things we're going to have to bring in. We're going to obviously bring in the title. Eventually, we're going to bring in like who the seller is. So we're going to have the email of the individual who's selling the item. So this is all kind of, as you can see, this is kind of my thought process of what all I need to fill into these spots to make it look the way I want to. Kind of a brainstorming of like, I need to choose a random number because it's going to be a random selection from the array. That's why I have this random one listed here. And basically what I'm going to do eventually is do like a while loop and then choose 4 random numbers out of the list of our items, and those will be the random numbers selected on the shop list. And here I go, kind of building out what I see as something useful. But I'm just going to go through and probably just delete this here in a second. But I need to get the process going of, I'll write this out sometimes just from my head and understand what I'm doing and what I'm wrapping around, and then I'll back out and do something more efficient. So this is kind of you're seeing my process kind of go to work here. Random list is going to be a list of however many numbers I want, which is going to be 4 initially. So I'll make a new function. First, I'm actually going to make another page called shop, and it's going to be treated like a new module, and it's going to have that random display like I was telling you. So let's just go ahead and do like if it's active module equals shop, and then I'm going to put in this new module that I'm about to write named shop with a capital S. It's going to be bringing in the items for now, just like the other guys. So let's go ahead and write this file out. We'll start from the very beginning and import React. Yeah, that React is from React. I'm going to have to put parentheses and bring down that R. But we also need to export it, and we got to return some JSX here. So let's just get all the basics written out. And let's get that random list. This needs to be over here because we're going to do it all here now instead of that other page. I might dice up that other page because it's not what we need anymore. We're going to need a shopping page like this. We're going to need a view details page, and then we're going to need, obviously, it's going to have a cart. So let's just go ahead and see where this takes us. I'm going to go ahead and set up our useEffect. I need this useEffect to come through and be passed through a couple times. Until we actually have items, this useEffect is kind of useless. So I'm going to have it pass a couple times. We got to import the shop file or the module. And I've pasted in what I wrote over there, but in a minute you'll see I need to grab items and show alert and bring those into the shop module. And here we go. I'm going to basically have a temp random list. I'm going to do a while loop. And the random list length is, as long as it's less than 3, which means it's going to be the length of 4, because it starts off with 0, we're going to go ahead and get a random number out of that random list. So we have a list of like 8 or 9 items, and I'm going to get 4 numbers out of those 8 randomly. And so it can only be 1 through 8, basically. And so basically half the products will be shown, and the other half will not be. But we will not have duplicates. That's the important part of showing this random list. So, yeah, I kind of screw around with some ideas of this function, but you get the idea. I need to get that list presented, and then I can run random list through this map here, and those elements will be mapped out according to which ones were chosen, and then will be displayed the proper professional way. So I'm not gonna. I know I'm writing the props map items here, but that's not what we're gonna do. I'll play around here for a minute until I get what I want. So we remember that we have, the item name and the details. So we're getting closer to what exactly we're going to be typing in. The details, I don't need all the details. This is just a teaser. So I'm just like the first 75 characters, maybe. That sounds about right. And now the image is, going to be another thing that's going to be wild, because the image I uploaded, some of them are pretty big, and they're definitely not going to fit. So I've got to get some CSS to work correctly. And here it's telling me my React is incorrect, which needs to be in quotes, as we all know. I want to also point out that we're going to start off with the shop page. So active modules automatically starts with shop. Here's our nav, and I'm just adding another button called shop, so we can always get back to where we landed. I think this is going to be our default from the very beginning even, so we'll have this button to get you back there. Now it's not rendering yet, so we see that we do have our data coming through on the app 166. So the data is working on the app. Let's make sure it works over here on our new shop module. So we're still getting stuff correctly. It's all working. We just got to get it to the shop. Now, do you see useEffect how at the end of the function there's a comma and a closed bracket with nothing in it? That closed bracket, it's right above the return, signifies that the JavaScript's only going to run through useEffect one time, and then it will not run it again. And that's not good. I need it to pass through multiple times until it realizes that props items is something that needs to be recognized. See right here, it runs through and there's no prop items yet, and nothing happens. No list is made, nothing's mapped out, nothing. Because we let it pass through one time only, and then it went on. So get ready for this. Right now I'm going into my login framework. I've upgraded some of the CSS here. It now has a built-in loader. It's just a CSS animation that comes in handy. I've used it in a lot of my other projects. I'm just going to copy the loading CSS and grab I just want to grab my loaders, CSS, and some of this other stuff. Here we go. As you can see, there's where it starts. And we're going to get some, it looks like I'm getting some mobile stuff like print, media, and a few other things that are just generically what we're going to use. We need all this stuff. There's my mobile currently, so we'll just add on to it. So we've got the desktop and mobile classes now. I'm getting rid of that. We don't need it. We got print media. So when we hit print, some things will not be we don't want to show them when we print because it's not necessary. So this is what print media does. And of course our loader. So in case this thing hasn't loaded yet, we need to have a kind of a signifier that I'm going to go ahead and put. It's just a div with the class loader, and it will literally show just that animation, and that little circle will spin forever, just with those few lines of CSS. It's really impressive, and very little memory taken up for it. And there you go. There's where our stuff looks so far. And you see how it's just kind of spinning? And there we got it. We got it running. This is what our stuff looks like. We've mapped it through. We've got everything working. It looks like crap. But this is, without the CSS, that's what our stuff looks like so far. I'm gonna take out well, it looks like I'm just gonna do a little bit of fixing up on some of the code here. Let's go back to my old JSX from my working. This is the old project I did years back. I'm just going to tell you that it probably took me about a day, maybe 4 hours or so to get the CSS the way I liked it. I remember this a long time ago. No reason to go through this again. So let's get the JSX from here. I don't know if anybody's aware of how to do this, but if you go under sources, you will actually get the React file. So here is obviously the rendered out HTML as we're highlighting it, which is fine, but let's go to sources. Here are the files that we use to make this React. Let's go ahead and get the JSX that I wrote originally multiple years back on this display list, and like I said, we'll just grab the original JSX and we'll swing over and we'll just paste it in so it can save us tons of time. We're going to need to name the variables a little differently, but it's going to be the same concept. So this is what we look like currently. It's all over the place and it would take forever. I mean, for the most part, it's a lot of the sizing of the imagery and then getting it sized correctly and looking professional. That's just, these things they're huge and we want to size them right and make them look nice. So let's paste in that JSX that we like from our working project. And as you can see, the background CSS for the image is inline, which is really rare. But since I have to change the background out on the fly based on what product it is, I can't do it in the CSS file. So unfortunately, this is one of the only times where you'll see me write inline stylings. And the React HTML parser, I don't know if anybody else is aware of this, but it's causing major problems right now within React. Huge issues. I may mess with it later, but it is definitely messing me up on this one. I cut out a lot of the errors it's throwing me for. This is React 18, and it's just throwing tons of errors, so I'm getting rid of it. It's just going to be straight up HTML that I've already saved. So there we go with the item. It's actually, we're using, instead of item description, we called it details, so I'll have to change that variable name. There we go. This is going to make it look a lot better. And we don't have a select product button just yet. We will need one to view the details. And here's the images. And we just want to show the first one out of the list, so 0. And as you can see, this is all background position, background size, and background repeat are all CSS attributes that I have to throw in line with the style so that it looks nice. And you don't know what size picture the users are going to be uploading. It could be too big, it could be too small. We need to cover it correctly. You kind of have to police up their work. You don't know what they're going to be uploading. Happens all the time. You'll be so surprised what people will upload. And it won't look or fit at all correctly. So you have to force it with your CSS skills. So here I'm gonna bring in some of the actual stylings that I had from that original project. These are the things that took a long time. There we go. These, I'm just pasting them in. The teaser is what I call those little products on the shop. The little squares with one product each, I call that a teaser. And I'm just looking for the unique stylings that I wrote so I can go get them and paste them in. So I'm going on my other screen, I'm basically going and looking for those style attributes on my old project, and I'm pasting them in. And then you're seeing the result of me paste them in. And then here's the mobile. I'm going to bring in some mobile work. So I need a width of 100 there, but then in desktop I need a width of 200 for the product preview image. So the preview image will change in size. And the item description, I'll go get those attributes. There we go. Not a big deal. I also think that decimal, like just a class of decimal, would be useful here, because that's pretty specific. And I would always use the decimal class. All right, so there's my animation. Here's my shop. There we go. Now it looks more like what I want, and it seems to be working. So we'll log back in. And yeah, so it's not doing random yet. So let's look. Here's what I'm talking about. You see how it has nothing coming in? It's just saying, hey, this is empty, and we don't know what you're talking about. But here it's all working, and here inventory is here. But shop, on the other hand, is not working. And so the reason being, see how it doesn't work? It only passes through one time because I told it to in my useEffect. So let's take this out. Now it will pass through as many times as it needs to, and I'm telling it to at least pass through one time when there's at least some items to look for, and that's what it's doing now. So I have to have it come through multiple times until there's enough stuff to show. So items is there. Now it will show, and now it is random. Well, here we go. Not random yet, so let's go ahead and fix the random. The problem here with my random is I'm actually saving numbers, and that kind of messes up my map. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm pushing the whole object. Since I'm pushing the whole object, it's not doing it randomly. So what I need to do is say, look, let's go ahead and do a temp number list. And as you push through these objects, I'm going to save the iteration number, the I, into this temp list. So we're going to save new number, temp num list. And I'm going to save new number every time something goes through. So now I'm going to say, as long as that number hasn't come through with the -1, then use it. If it has, then don't use it. And so at this point, it's saying now they all are unique because we won't let the same number go in twice. So as long as they're unique, now they're all random. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. It looks a lot better. And like I said, we saved probably about a day's worth of work because we already had some CSS ready, and you didn't have to watch me kind of screw about trying to get everything working. And as you can see, we still have some muted text. There's still some stylings done, but we are well on our way to what we want. And we'll also be working with an inventory log in the future, and we'll be doing some product details page as well. See you next time.